What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host, joined today by super friends Ryan Wilson and John Breech, plus the purveyor of the power rankings, the maestro of the media contortion, Pete Prisco. What's up, buddy?
I'm here. I'm with you. Oh, I'm a super friend kind of too, though, aren't I?
Yeah, you're a super friend. Sure, yeah.
Okay.
If
You didn't watch cartoons growing up, Pete. You can't be a super friend.
I did watch cartoons.
Oh, I thought you
Roadrunner.
said what'd you watch?
Tasmania. I was the Tasmanian devil from the cartoons back in the day.
I believe that was your football name.
Breech, are you hungover?
No, I was just trying to enjoy Pete's opening
You're
statement.
sort of like wobbling a little bit, and like your hair's like all out of sorts.
Watch
It's
out
like
for the
didn't have time to
He's married with
shower.
4 kids. He's married with 4 kids. Those hangover days are done, dude.
way done.
Yeah, there's no. This is you're just. I'm worn out from hanging out with a toddler.
Yeah. We got in the feed, Katie Mox, myself, Emery Hunt, and Prop Stars looking at early odds for week 6. You don't want to put any money down for this coming week until you go back and give that a listen. Sort of looking at what lines might move, where we might go. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, and while you're at it, if you're listening on any of the various podcast platforms, audio version, give us a 5-star review. Today, we're going to cover the Lions flexing on people. We're going to run through Pete's Week 6 power rankings and then rank the best home field advantages in the NFL. But first, the Las Vegas Raiders pulled off a home win last night. The real question for you, Pete, is in our silliness power rankings, what are your top 5 or top 3 to 5 favorite things to do in Las Vegas?
Sit down at a blackjack table and play blackjack.
Okay.
Is that one thing or two things? Is the sitting down one and then playing blackjack still?
No,
Okay.
that's one. Going to a pool and taking endless amounts of sun.
Mm.
3.
I've done that with you.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, you have. You've done both with me, by the way.
That's right. Yeah. We got a massage. We got a massage at the blackjack table.
You did.
I did. Yeah. We got high.
Number 3 would be going to a nice restaurant, Italian restaurant, and eating a good Italian meal. Number 4 would be, going to play roulette. How about that? And
Okay.
number 5 would be
Show?
a concert. I saw Journey there, and it was fantastic.
How was
It was
Chicago,
absolutely
Pete?
incredible. What's that?
How was Chicago?
Chicago's one of the top concerts I've ever seen.
Oh,
Have
I've
you-
seen a lot.
Have you seen
Happy
the new Sphere, the Sphere that's open in Vegas?
Yeah, that's awesome. That'd be great. U2's in there.
U2's in there right now. There's a rumor about Fish going to play there, but the problem is like it's a strict no smoking policy because of the panels in there, and sometimes it's hard to get those Fish fans not to hit the vape
I'll
pens.
tell you what, I saw Journey in Vegas with Arnel Pineda, and it was fantastic. He puts on a hell of a show. And Chicago the other night was one of the and I've seen U2 and the Rolling Stones, and it was one of the best concerts I've ever seen.
So, Pete, do you sit down or stand up? And if you stand up, how often are you dancing throughout the concert?
No, I'm sitting. I don't stand up.
Okay.
No. By the way, I will say this, okay? And I'm going to give you a little, because you mentioned this, the Chicago concert. Me and my wife were having a few drinks because it was my birthday before going in, and we're looking around at the age of the people going in, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not like these people. I'm not this old, am I?
You're like the youngest guy there, yeah.
Well, you know what it is? Think about it. Chicago hit like early 70s, so I was 10 or 11. And so by the time, these people, if you were like 18, 19, 20, you're 10 years older than me. You're in your mid 70s.
Yeah, my parents love Chicago. They're like 10 or 15 years older than you, and
and they would have done the same thing that most of the other people in the crowd did. When the 80s Chicago stuff came on, and a lot of that was Peter Cetera's big hits and stuff, they were looking around like they hadn't heard the songs, because by then they had like families and stuff. They weren't
interesting.
out and listening to the music. That was over with.
Pete, are you saying that in 10 years Chicago's not going to have any fans left?
Well, they might not be left. They're pretty old.
We went.
I hope that, because I'm telling you, it was fantastic. There's 3 original band members, and the lead singer came from Canada for the last 5 years. He sounds just like Peter Cetera.
Oh, good.
We went and saw Little Feat, I think like 2 years ago. And Little Feat, like a kind of a jam band from like Southern jam band from the 70s, or like lesser known, but like a classic rock band. But like it was like a group of like 10 or 12 of us, like dudes my age, and we were the youngest people by 30 plus years in that entire auditorium.
What's amazing too is Chicago takes Have you ever been to a concert where the band takes a 20-minute break?
Fish does that every Fish does that every.
I'm going to my wife. I'm like, wait a second, what are we doing here?
You had to get IVs in the back.
Yeah,
I gotta go back and get some. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what they had to do.
I can't wait to see what happens when, because we can't wait for the Super Bowl in Las Vegas on CBS. I can't wait to see like what kind of Super Bowl parties happen in Vegas. By the way, that could be like you can see some pretty sick concerts going down. Like somebody's got to have a show at the Sphere, like a Super Bowl party at the Sphere.
I think U2's ends in November, so they won't be. Their residency in the Sphere ends in November, so I don't think they'll be there. But
right, but I'm saying like I guarantee you, there's someone who does a deal with the Sphere where they do a huge Super Bowl party or like a huge Super Bowl concert in the Sphere. You know what I mean? Like,
Brinson, if you get a Super Bowl party invite from the Bunny Ranch, do not respond.
No. Hey, by the way, Bruno, that venue at the Hard Rock is fantastic. By the way, I've been there. It's pretty new.
It's in Florida, obviously.
Bruno Mars is coming there. My wife wants to go. Should I go?
Yes, Bruno Mars is awesome.
I like Bruno Mars, but
I like Bruno Mars too. Yeah, you will be on the opposite end of your demographic that you were with Chicago and Bruno Mars. Yeah. All right, moving along. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, at least until later in the show when we talk about the team that fell the furthest in your power rankings thanks to their blackout trip to the Strip. Pete, we defend your power rankings. Monday Night Football, Packers stumbled, but with the Packers stumbling, the Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell, move into your top 5 as a result. Is it a result of just? I mean, I'm fine with this. I think you can make the case that what happened to the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football with how the Lions just dominated. Like the Lions had, if you look at their season in totality, the Lions go to Kansas City and win that game. They lose in overtime
without Chris Jones, so you got to put a little.
Sure, for sure, but that's fine. It's still Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid on the opener. They lose at home to Seattle in week 2 in overtime, and what was a crazy game. And we're like, all right, maybe we're a little concerned. But then they dominate the Falcons. They dominate the Packers on the road, and they absolutely bludgeon the Panthers. I know none of those teams, like the Panthers and the Falcons, none of those teams might not be great, but the Lions have looked, I think you put them in a different uniform, and you're talking about them, people are giving them more credit as a Super Bowl contender.
By the way, I didn't know that the Lions fans were so passionate. I mean, they haven't been around for 45 years. So,
well, their defense.
My gosh, they come hard too. And so now you're in your top 5, Lions fans. Leave me alone. I mean, because I never knew, seriously, I thought, since Bobby Lane went away, they haven't had any Lions fans. It's a great story. He's done a great job. I think Ben Johnson's a fantastic offensive coordinator. I've always been more bullish on Jared Goff than others. I like him as a guy, but I also think he's a good quarterback who can operate in this system. And I think defensively, they've made big strides. That's where they made the biggest improvement. They were a joke on defense last year, and they've done a great job on that side of the ball. They're fun to watch. Big game this week, by the way. Big game this week with the Creamsicles down in Tampa. That's going to be fun. I look forward to that one.
I also look forward to that one. Wilson, do you have any questions for Pete about the Lions? Nope. Cool. I'm just curious if you had any questions about the Lions. That's all.
Pete, what do you think about Jared Goff? Where do you rank him among the quarterbacks in the NFC? Because I think he's probably 2.
You have Hurts 1?
No, Brock. I think I have Brock 1 right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, right now Brock would be 1. Yeah, he'd probably be right. Stafford's still playing good football. I mean,
the top four are Brock, Hurts, Goff, and Stafford.
Yeah, that's pretty clear cut, I think. I mean, Cousins is still
actually playing
numbers.
some of his best football.
Cousins are probably the 5th, yeah. Or that would be the top 5 in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, in what order you want to put them? But Purdy's playing the best. Right?
Yeah,
I don't think there's any question about that.
Geno Smith not playing terrible.
Would you? Okay, this is the question you got to ask. If you put Jared Goff in the 49ers offense, would he be playing every bit as good as Brock Purdy?
I think Brock Purdy is playing out of his mind, so maybe not, but I think he would be executing that offense at a high level. And the other thing I take away from Jared Goff is that's an example of a guy who came in and struggled, because a lot of times quarterbacks struggle, and maybe he sort of figured it out. No one on planet Earth, especially me, thought once he got traded from Sean McVay to the Lions, he would be this guy. But credit to him, because that dude's been balling out ever since he got to Detroit.
I don't know if the Lions thought he would be this guy.
Maybe not. Maybe
No,
not.
I don't think they did. I thought he was stopgap and they'd go get a quarterback. And
well, I mean, Brad Holmes was in Los Angeles when they drafted him, and you got to. I mean, I think too, like if they have a great offensive line, like top 5 offensive line in the NFL, they play indoors, and like they have a really smart.
They don't have a deep threat now. Jameson Williams comes back, and he's back, and he going to become that guy? But for the first month of the season, they didn't scare anybody down the field.
True.
And now, if Williams comes back and opens up that part of their game,
and your guy Sam Laporta, you called him.
Sam Laporta is awesome.
Yeah, you know what? Ryan, Rick sits here on Sundays and acts like he thought Sam Laporta was going to be George Kittle. You got to back him off of that because I was the Laporta guy, remember? And he was
Antoine
not.
Green. And Antoine Green.
Yeah, Antoine Green too. But
that's right.
Isn't it like area? I mean, like if you don't rank Iowa tight ends high, what are you doing? Like,
not just that.
These guys are just all good.
Iowa tight ends, though, Will, because he ran like a wide receiver. It was different. You know, Kittle's he's a pure tight end. He can run for a tight end, but that
Laporta's more like a Fant than a Kittle slash.
But a good fan.
Yeah, Hawk. He's a good version of Fant. All right. My Buffalo Bills punished for losing to the Jaguars by dropping 6 spots all the way down to number 10. I think you could argue that 1, they probably should have flown over earlier. 2, the loss of the Jaguars is bad, but you know what's worse? What you mentioned in the Power Rankings article, the injuries to the defense. Matt Milano done for the year. That is a big concern, Pete.
Well, it's not just that. Think about this in that game, and this is why I dropped them down a little bit. Yeah, they couldn't be ahead of the Jaguars after they lost to them. They just couldn't be. But here's why. Milano's gone. Tre'Davious White's gone. They're gone for the year. Benford didn't play. Taron Johnson got banged up. Daquan Jones went out of that game. Russo didn't play. Von Miller looked like a shell of himself. And I know it's his first game, but all offseason, all we heard, watch out for that defense when they get Von Miller back. Well, now he's back, but everybody else is going away.
Yeah.
So I'm really concerned about their defense and the depth, and they're going to be tested. I mean, that's going to be a big test for them now, seeing how they respond to not having those guys on the field. And everybody says, oh, you go get somebody. I think they should be active in the trade market. I think they should try and find some targets to maybe, the linebacker. Look, Milano's a great player. You're not replacing him by going and get anybody on the trade market, I don't think. They drafted a bunch of young linebackers. They draft, those guys will start playing. They'll get better. Bernard, nobody thought Bernard was even going to win the job this summer. And he was hurt all summer. He ended up starting the opener. He's played really well for him. They got to hope one of those other guys, steps in and does it. The kid from Tulane with Williams and then, or Dotson, one of those guys can step in and do it. But you look at the rest of that team, where's the corner? Here's the problem with the corner. You drafted Elam to be a guy. If Benford comes back and Elam can start playing the way you thought he would play and Johnson's okay, then they'll be okay. But I'm concerned about that defense.
The problem, Pete, is that Elam started because he had to last week, and then they took him out down the stretch, and Sean McDermott was like, well, we wanted to get someone else in there, and then someone else was a guy they called up from the practice squad.
Yeah, it's not a good look for them. I mean, but again, didn't they sign Josh Norman?
Yep.
I mean, Josh Norman's my age. He can't couldn't run in his leg. The last time he played was what, in 2000 and was it 20? 21?
He also loves Chicago, so that's something else you have in common with him.
I mean, it's incredible. I don't understand that signing. I think there are better options out there, or better options.
I think.
He's only on their practice squad. It's not like he's going to go out there and be their starting corner.
When you bring a veteran in like that, you usually look to see what kind of shape he's in, and if he's in good shape, then he's going to get elevated.
Well, he gets to play against the Giants.
35.
He can probably keep up with them.
I mean, this week is an ambush. Let's be real. This is a good tonic for them to get the Giants, but I'm concerned the December, January Bills.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I'm concerned about.
Would you try to raid Carolina? Like, hey, look, I know you guys are on 5. Here's some, give us Brian Burns.
I don't think they're going to trade Brian Burns, and that's not necessarily what they need. I mean, because if Von Miller's back when he does get playing back to his level, then Russo's not going to miss that.
Your secondary and your linebackers are the concern, I guess.
Yeah,
Shaq Thompson.
And I don't think but you
he's out for
drafted
the year too.
young linebackers. You have young bodies. You're just not going to have Milano, and Milano is the heart and soul of that defense.
But Pete, even if the defense struggles, do you think the offense is good enough to carry the team? And we saw them put up 48 on the Dolphins. The defense could have given up 40 points and Buffalo still would have won that game. They played out of their minds for 3 weeks until they made a dumb planned trip to London and flew in 2 days before the game. But it seems like their offense is good enough to carry the team.
Here's my concern with that now. When Josh Allen is asked to do too much, it becomes a problem. And we've seen that.
Yeah.
When the defense, if the defense isn't good, and I'm not saying it won't be, because I think they drafted some speedy linebackers the last couple of years that can step in there and play. They're just not going to be Milano. But if the defense isn't good and Allen's asked to do too much, we know what he does. He presses and he makes mistakes. And that's my concern. It bleeds over a little bit to the offense. But they can score. You know what happened last week in watching the tape of that game? Jacksonville played zone and dared him and they just looked lifeless when they came out. And then by the time he picked it up in the second half, it was too late. They didn't look, the trip wasn't good. That was their home game, by the way. They can't be happy about that.
Cannot. The team that took them down, the aforementioned Jaguars, now 3-2, move up 4 spots into the 9 spot. I don't really have a beef. I mean, going 2-0 in London is huge. I think I would. I mean, talk about like if you're going to play one game in London, I just didn't play 2 games in London.
I think that's going to be a thing. I think that's going to become a thing. The problem is you need to get. You're not going to give out 2 home. You're not going to give up 2 home games because then the city will go nuts. What they're going to do is try and work it out where the team takes their home game and moves it there. So, in other words, like Buffalo did, then you would do that. I think that's something they liked it. From what I heard, they liked it. The league liked it. And
do you mean the Bills liked it?
I don't think the Bills like, but everybody's got to play got to go give up a home game to go over there eventually, anyways.
Right. But no, I'm saying, but watching that game, I mean, that was a Bills home game. There were way more Bills fans than Jaguars fans, although there were some interesting Jaguars fans certainly who showed up there. Was this you, Pete? Were you dressed up as a cat?
Chris Hassel's a weirdo. Yeah, that's me. I went over. I flew over.
Did Chris Hassel say that was you?
Chris Hassel, who took my picture off Twitter and shared it and said it was Prisco.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Well, Pete, Breech, you took that off television. It's not like you took that from.
Well, right, but it was my screen grab.
By the way, I will say this, and I'm going to put this is funny because I a couple weeks ago on the Jaguars radio show, I said, Josh, the Jaguars lack a game wrecker on defense. And Baselli agreed with me. And I'm you know me, I love game wreckers. And I said it over and over again.
You're a game wrecker, Pete.
Well, I am a game wrecker. But the guy who does the show with us, JP Shadwick, calls the games for Westwood One, and he did them over in London. Well, he told us last night that he talked to Josh Allen before the game, and on his screensaver on his phone, there's something about a game wrecker. He didn't like the fact that we said that.
Oh, he heard that.
What did he do against Atlanta?
He wrecked.
The other day, he had a sack that got called back for a stupid penalty. He should have never been called back. He would have had 4 in 2 games. So he's an unrestricted free agent after the season. So, Josh, if you cash in, I'd really like a little bit of percentage for being that kind of motivating guy that I am.
And when you get that percentage, you can buy another a leopard skin ascot to go with your. Well, so what do you think about the Jaguars? Are like, I mean, huge to go 2-0 in London. You right the ship. You feel like you got. I mean, you're coming back. You're playing Indy. It's in Jacksonville, right?
It is.
No Anthony Richardson.
This Gardner is like Minshew in the return against a revenge game.
Brinson.
I know. I'm fully aware it's a Gardner Minshew revenge game week. This is just a huge spot for the Jaguars where they can kind of take this division, grab a hold of this division and pull away a little bit, right?
You know, when you look back at their schedule, and I think we'll do this in December at some point and go, what the heck happened against the Texans? It's just the weirdest game. Yeah. They got dominated at home by the Texans, and it makes no sense to me, but they regrouped. And remember that happened to them? They regrouped last year after Denver. I still don't think you've seen the best football from them. I just don't. I think offensively, and they had 400 something yards of offense, and it still wasn't as crisp as it should be, in large part because I still think the middle of the offensive line is having issues. But you look at what they did offensively. ETN got it going. The defense has played really well. Mike Caldwell's done a good job with that defense, but they don't have a ton of talent. I'm just wondering, is that going to show up, or are they good enough as constructed to be one of those defenses that's just good enough to get you while the offense scores points?
Are you at all concerned about the injuries to Walker Little and lesser perhaps to Zay?
Both of them are impactful. Absolutely. I mean, getting Cam Robinson back is big because Walker Little moved inside the guard last week, and he played well for the 11 snaps that he was in. Then they took him out, and the guy they put in for him, Tyler Shatley, was one of the all-time worst offensive linemen in one game I've seen.
Is that the stuff you were tweeting out, that guys running into each other?
No, that was the other one, Sheriff, because I guess PFF put out something where Sheriff didn't give up a pressure or a sack. And I went, because I had watched the tape earlier today, I go, I don't think that's true. And they were pushing back on it. So I sent out the picture of him. Look, you've seen it, the little cut up that I sent out. He gets abused. I mean, it's just awful. So,
I mean,
yeah.
Are you concerned that the team is 1-2 and they play in America? I mean, great. They went to London where they have a distinct travel advantage because they do it every year and they beat up on 2 teams. So they're not playing well in the States, though.
No, they'll play well this week, though. They'll beat the Colts this week. Gardner Minshew will not play well against them. He just won't. They know what he is. He won't play well against them.
300 yards.
Make a note.
Yeah, I mean, I just looked
the top-ranked quarterback when he came out, knowing you.
Breech wants him to be. Breech has said for at least a couple of years now he should be traded for a 3rd-round pick, and he's looking more and more right each and every week.
Gardner Minshew's number one fan.
He can step in and be okay for a couple games if you're not a long-term starter. That's not what he is.
Yeah, no one thinks he is, but he
doesn't have to be. He's just got to win the next 4 games for the Colts, and he can do that.
Yeah,
he's 2-0 this year. That's all I'm saying.
I'm looking at this.
He's actually 1-1 because he didn't start the game.
All right, fair.
Ooh, that's technical.
Well, then he's 1-0. Not 1-0. Don't put a loss on Gardner Minshew, Pete. Don't you dare do that.
While Breech is hyping up his guys, Breech, you had any questions about does the Breech bot? Actually, you know what? Do it. We'll take a break. We'll take a break, and when we come back, Breech bot 3000. We'll ask Pete about the Cowboys next.
CBS Sports Network goes all in with the World Series of Poker. We're talking a full house of characters in a competition flush with cash. The World Series of Poker on CBS Sports Network.
Pete, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Well, the first thing I noticed about your rankings is that there was a team that lost by 32 points and only dropped 2 spots. That team was the Dallas Cowboys. My question is, well, number one, their wins don't look so impressive anymore. That 38-3 drubbing of the Patriots. Well, everyone can drub the Patriots. The Saints beat them 34-0. They crushed the Giants. Everyone's crushing the Giants. Are maybe the Cowboys actually bad? And should you have dropped them, say, out of the top 10?
No, and they're not bad. They just had a bad night against a really good team. They're not bad.
They lost to the Cardinals.
Yeah. Do you think Seattle's better than them? I don't.
I would move the Cowboys below the Seahawks, Jaguars, and Bills right now.
Let me ask you this, Pete. Who do you trust more, Eugene Cyril Smith III or Dak Prescott?
Probably Geno.
The Cowboys are bad then, dude.
I think Dak, something's inside his head in big games.
Well, that goes to Breech's point that you have to be concerned about this team.
They'll get it right. They have too much
You just
talent.
said you trust Geno Smith more than Dak Prescott?
Right now, I think they'll get it right. Here's the other thing. They really didn't run the ball much either, did they? I mean,
who's that on? Who is that on? The play caller? Who's the play caller? Mike McCarthy?
Yeah, but remember, everybody said, "Oh, when Mike McCarthy takes over, they're going to run the ball." That's not who he is. He's not going to run the ball. They got ambushed. You can't overreact to one game. 2 weeks ago, you had Miami dead.
You not get ambushed in your biggest game of the season.
Yeah,
that's
Sunday Night Football. I mean, you may have gotten
home. If they got ambushed at home, I would have said, "Okay, I'm with you on that." But it was on the road on a Sunday night.
Lost to the Cardinals.
It was Sunday Night Football against an undefeated 49ers team who's knocked out of the playoffs the last 2 years. They've been circling this game for like the entire offseason. It wasn't an ambush. And they walked in and got clubbed.
They got ambushed. It didn't happen. Well, 2 weeks ago, Miami got ambushed. Should they drop down? Should they have dropped 10 spots?
Who ambushed Miami?
Buffalo.
I mean, it's an
But they
ambush.
lost.
An ambush implies just oh my God, what a surprising attack.
Like
the
the
Bills,
Cardinals ambushed the
Cowboys.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that
to
was-
Ryan's point, that Miami's only loss is that Buffalo game. The Cowboys also have that Cardinals loss that is
An
pretty,
ambush implies an element of surprise.
Pete is the new Breech bot Cowboys fan. Jerry Jones bought you for this
Believe me,
podcast.
You can't. You don't have like the biggest profile game of the entire week and get ambushed. Like, that's not an ambush. That's a you walked in, you just got punched in the mouth and you got knocked out.
They got the snot knocked out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they got destroyed, and it happens in the NFL. We overreact way too much to one game. I say it every week.
But you did admit you were concerned about Dak, and that's a problem.
Well, more than just now, though. I mean, I've been concerned about him for the last year and a half. I think he's got to show up in big games. I mean, that's an issue. There's no question about that.
I agree with that.
I mean, it's not just him, though. What about this star-studded defense? Where were they?
Well, I mean, look, man, getting your ass kicked by Shanahan isn't no shame in that. It happens every single week.
That game was you don't belong in the same tier of teams as we do ass kicking.
It was a Sunday night road game in a division out of the division against a great team that you got away from you. That's what it was. It was no more than that.
Yeah, but I also feel like the defense, if you look at what the Cowboys did in the first quarter, they forced 2 punts, they forced a turnover, and then they saw their offense score exactly 0 points after any of that, and they're like, all right, we give up because we're not scoring any points. We can't win.
We can't all day. They had guys wide open. The defense did not play well. It just
you are taking over Breach's role as the Cowboy supporter.
Pete bought 3,000.
I'm a realist. You guys overreact every week to one
Pete
game.
Jones. He's now
Baltimore Ravens were not the biggest faller on your list. The Packers actually were, but as we mentioned, what stays in Vegas or what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So we'll leave the Packers alone. Packers might just be Jordan Love just might be bad, but the Ravens did fall 5 spots from 6 to 11 and drop out of the top 10. What do we make of Baltimore? Are they good? Or are they just like lucky with the scheduling early in the season and suddenly the AFC North is wide open again and Breech Bots Bengals are alive?
Yeah, if they caught the ball the other day, they win the game.
Yeah.
And they don't have a punt block, they win the game. It was one of those things where the better team that day was Baltimore, and it just got away from them. And for all the many mistakes that they made, including, hey, John, you might want to take that field goal at the end of the half, buddy. I mean, would you even like to have had that at the end of the game? You remember? Harbaugh passed on a field goal at the end of the half. That was idiotic. And what yard line were they on when he did that?
And he's a special teams guy. That's the crazy part.
Right. I mean, kick your field goal. If the Steelers are, let's put it this way: if he kicks the field goal, the Steelers are done.
And for people who didn't watch the game, real quick, Pete, that was the Ravens had a 4th and 2 at the Steelers' 23-yard line. So this wouldn't have been like a 60-yard field goal.
How much time was left in the half?
It's like 15 seconds left in the half, and they went for it on 4th and 2.
What are you doing? Give me the end game of going for that.
I think they have so little respect for that Steelers offense. That's why. Now, I take your point. I don't disagree with it.
And that would have put up the Ravens up 13-3 at the half.
If you play that game 1,000 times, if you play that game 1,000 times, the Ravens win 999. This is literally the one game that the Steelers found a way to win.
Okay, but if they take the field, you guys agree with me. If they kick that field goal, the game's over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should have been over anyway.
Matt Canada wouldn't. They showed the clip of like the George Pickens touchdown. It's like watching it with Matt Canada, and like he was too scared to celebrate until he like was absolutely sure there were no flags. He was kind of like, whew, wow, he didn't do what I told him to do, but it actually worked. Okay, whatever.
The Ravens were the better team, and they just lost the game.
Lamar can't throw the interception in the end zone at the end either.
No,
there's a whole bunch of bad things happened. I don't know how they lost that game, but also they found a way to lose at home in overtime to Breech's Gardner Minshew and the Colts. Yeah. So this team should be a top 10 team, and they're playing worse somehow than the Steelers and the Bengals in that division. No offense.
Yeah, it's not very good. And we were supposed to see the new look pass offense, remember? And they got to catch it.
They got to catch it.
What they got 7 passes the other day?
Oh man.
Hey, the Ravens are making a smart decision this week. They are already in London because they flew there on Monday, unlike the Tennessee Titans, who are flying there Thursday night and doing exactly what the Bills did last week. So
they are
one team
You know
that
what, though?
learned.
Most teams have gone. It's changed over, and Jacksonville's changed theirs over the years. I really don't think that matters. I think that's so overblown.
Ask the Bills if it matters.
It matters.
I don't. It doesn't. It's so overblown.
Josh Allen said he drank a bunch of coffee, and he never drinks coffee to stay awake on the Friday before the game.
You're supposed to go there, land at night on Thursday.
That's what the Bills did.
And then you go have a walkthrough or not a little mini something on Friday, sleep normally that day, and get up and do a walkthrough on Saturday. By that time, you're used to it, and you play on Sunday. It's not that big a deal. Teams have done it both ways, and teams have gone there and had success both ways. Again, overreaction to one game.
Remember when John Harbaugh said that the Ravens were going to take a cruise ship from Baltimore to London, so that way they could slowly, like over the course of the week, like slowly adjust to the time.
That was their April Fool's thing, and a bunch of people fell for it.
Well, he didn't kick the field goal, so who knows?
Speaking of totally random things, I just got an alert for NFL and CBS's YouTube, which you're watching right now, youtube.com/@NFL and CBS. I noticed it was Ryan Wilson talking to Javon Curse. What's up with that? And did you know that I have a picture on my phone or somewhere in storage of Javon Curse chokeholding Pete Prisco at like 1 a.m.
He was a good guy. He was a lot of fun to talk
He's great.
to.
He's a great dude. He lives down here. He did for a long time. He used to go into my brother's bar.
When I talked to him, he was in Nashville, so I don't know if he was just there visiting, but he was a lot of fun to talk about and talk with. And he said when he got drafted, he was the first edge rusher taken in that class. There were 5 quarterbacks taken ahead of him. I can't remember the year now. I don't know if that was Peyton's draft or not, but either way, he said he could name every single player drafted ahead of him because he used it as, not that he needed the motivation, but you probably remember this, Pete. He came into Florida as a safety, and they moved him to edge rusher, and he was like 6'5". I think he left when he was 260, ran a 4.58 at the combine.
Awesome.
He said the only reason
if his career had lasted longer, Ryan, he would have been unbelievable.
And he said the only reason he ran a 4 in the 4.5s at the combine is because they made him gain a bunch of weight, like we see these kids have to do. He was a 4.4 guy all day long. He was great. So go check
by the
that
way,
out.
that was the Tim Couch. We're going to have Achilles Smith, Edger and James.
99. There you go. Thank you.
Champ Bailey, David Boston.
When he walked on the field, you knew he was special. That kid was. I mean, and how many years? He didn't play a lot of years because he got hurt, but he was special. He was the freak.
There was actually a bunch of like really good players who got taken in front of him. Like two Hall of Famers. Really, the only bad person the 2 bad players who got taken in front of him were Achilles Smith for the Bengals and Tim Couch for the Browns.
We don't talk about that name anymore, Brinson.
Don't we, Breech?
We don't.
You had the Atlanta Falcons flying up this week, 22-14.
I thought that they would win that game. That was one of. In fact, I made the Falcons my best bet on the show, and we picked it at 2.5.
Oh, gross! I hate how these things move like this on us.
Yeah, it was really and I think we picked it on our site at 2, and it ended up being 1.5 at one. Some people, I don't know, it's just crazy, but that's a good win for them. It's a good showing for Desmond Ridder. He had to do that. Drive him down, go get the game-winning field goal. It's good for him. That's something you can build upon for the next game, and I think that was important for him.
The schedule is really easy too.
The one thing I will say about that game, it really felt like D'Amico Ryans said the whole week, you know what, we're going to let Desmond Ridder beat us because I don't think he's that good, and we're not going to let them run the ball. And then, jokes on him because Desmond Ridder did beat them. But, I mean, it really, the whole game, Texans' defensive game plan just seemed like a sign of disrespect to Ridder. And, you know, he answered the bell, so good for him.
Yeah, he played well.
Packers.
Whew.
Jordan Love good.
Look, my initial evaluation of him coming out was he wasn't going to be good. And I revised it after seeing him play, talking to him, watching him this summer. I thought he had a chance to be a decent, not great, but a good quarterback. And now I'm worried about my revised evaluation.
Well, how concerned are you about the lack of depth at the offensive tackle positions?
Well, I mean, they played. This one tackle was a starting tackle. It was Zach Tom. He played.
Rasheed Walker's number 3.
He's 2. He's their number 2 tackle. But Max Crosby's going to make a lot of tackles look bad. He held the ball. He's not going through his progression. He's not going through his progressions quick enough. He holds the ball. And I just think that
he didn't even see the backside defender on that terrible interception.
That was, that it was funny because when I watched it, it reminded me of a play when I was there this summer, but it wasn't the same because in that play, when I was there in the summer, in the first play of the 11-on-11 drill, he turned his back on a play fake and fired a shot into the middle of the field, and the linebacker picked it off. And I talked to him afterwards. I said, I hate those plays. I hate plays when young quarterbacks have to turn their backs. He didn't like it either. So last night I'm watching the play, and I'm like, he didn't turn his back. He just didn't see him. And those are the little mistakes that you can't make. And when he made that mistake when I was there, those guys got on him.
You said Jair was yelling at him?
They were screaming at him, get your head out of your you-know-what. I mean, it was bad. And they said it was all to get him going, and he's not bothered by that stuff, but he's a better player than he's showing. I mean, if you go back and look at the last play of the game where the guy's open in the end zone, by the time he got out, he couldn't really make that throw. When Watson beat the defensive back. If you go back and look at that, the crosser's wide open for about what might have scored too, about the 15-yard line, and he doesn't even see him. Because I get it, the guy was open, but that's a hard throw to make when you're rolling to your left.
You know what? We make fun of Sam Darnold for saying that, he saw ghosts, but a lot of quarterbacks will tell you that, like young quarterbacks especially. Like sometimes you just don't see anything because you're pressing so much. So I'm not out on him, but I mean it's not great.
You were in on him when he came out.
I got to. I go over the cliff with the quarterback, so I got a long train head for the Grand Canyon right now.
You know what though? You hold on for a long ride before you go off the cliff with him.
That's right. We're Thelma and Louise in it, guys.
I'm not,
you're Ryan and Macking it over the cliff right now.
One of the producers asked me. They said, "Oh, Jordan Love's finished." I go, "After 5 games, you're done with him. Are you really going to give him at least a year, and then you could make that claim."
Well, what about Pete? What if Aaron Jones comes back? Because one thing he does is gives Love a little security blanket out of the backfield. AJ Dillon absolutely does not. I don't know if Dillon got targeted last night. No, he didn't catch a pass. Do you think that will help Jordan?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. You saw it in the what was it, week 1 where he lined him up in the slot and he caught the pass in the middle of the field. The other thing, and I'm guilty as this as anybody, the rookie tight ends, a lot of people thought Musgrave and even Kincaid were going to change the dynamic of their team's offenses a little bit. He was they took him out of that game last night. By the end of the game,
was
they
giving
were
him the business on the sideline at one point.
Yeah, and by the end of the game, they were playing the other tight end. So that's a concern because they thought they'd get that. I don't understand why he didn't go to Reed more in the slot last night. That's the one that's concerning to me because they were down Hobbs, and so you attacked that spot and they didn't do it. I think he had 1 catch, and did he even have more? I think he might only have 1 target. That made no sense.
He had 1 that he dropped or like on the left sideline, I think. But yeah, I'm with you. It was. I mean, is it fair to ask about Matt LaFleur as a play caller at all?
No, it's hard to call plays when you're
throwing interceptions in the middle.
Yeah, Reed had 2 targets and 1 catch.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to call plays when you're unsure about your offensive line and your quarterback.
You don't trust your quarterback.
Yeah, until you get a good feel for him, it's hard to call plays. I just thought they would have called more stuff down the field vertically. Get the ball out, take the big shots. You get them, you get them. If not, they knock them away. That kind of stuff, and they didn't do a lot of that either.
I will say, I mean, it's one of those things that can turn too. Like if Christian Watson had gotten in on that deep ball where Marcus Peters got called for the horse collar and they ended up kicking a field goal because they couldn't score, maybe that changes the tenor of the game. We're not quite so hard on Jordan Love. Great play by Marcus Peters. Thank God no one got hurt. But those little things also sort of add up by the time you're also.
Felt like he underthrew that. He underthrew that too. Like if he'd led Watson a little bit, am I wrong there?
Yeah, no, that was a good throw. He missed another long throw where he had him in the middle of the field that would have been a touchdown, and he missed that one because he had a guy beat down right in his face. But the thing about that play, everybody's going to do that. You're always going to pull him down and take the penalty because it's a touchdown.
It's a 3-yard penalty.
So is that something that the league should look at? If you pull somebody down from behind as a horse collar?
You just hope no one gets hurt. That's the only thing.
Well, no, but I mean, like, it's sort of like pass interference in college where if you're beat, you should just grab the guy because it's a 15-yard penalty instead of a bomb touchdown. Like, Marcus Peters saved them 4 points or at least 3 points, and it only cost him 3 yards versus like 15 yards. It's no brainer you pull him down like that.
Here's the other part of that. What the hell was the play calling when they got down there? They ran Dillon twice and then asked the quarterback to make a play.
That's not
can
Jordan's
it any more predictable?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Matt LaFleur, a little bit of criticism. Steelers won this week and fell. What the hell, Pete?
I'm fine with that, by the way. You could have dropped them further as far as I'm concerned.
It was just ugly.
Yeah, they're not very good.
You give them away. That was a.
They're better than the Rams.
That was an accidental win. That's what that was.
No, the Rams are better. The Rams are better than the Steelers. It was an accidental win.
Yeah, I don't know if the
Raiders might be better than the Steelers too.
The Raiders aren't better than the Steelers.
They lost to the Steelers. Yeah, that's a low point if you lose to the Steelers. Pete, let me ask you I'm going to go off script here and ask you a question that we posed to one another on Sunday night. Don't anyone make any facial expressions. I want to get Pete's honest answer. Let's say the Chiefs can hire 3 available head coaches. The head coaches are Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin, Mike Vrabel. Who are they hiring? No facial expressions. Go.
For a year or for the long run?
For next year. Just let's do 1 year.
Andy Reid walks away to go open a mac and cheese
1 year.
1 year, starting next year in January. Who are they hiring? TikTok, let's go.
In order.
Belichick's the best coach of all of them.
Who are they hiring?
Belichick.
No, you guys are all wrong.
He said Tomlin. He said Tomlin, Vrabel, then Belichick. He said Belichick's third on the list.
Bill Belichick's the greatest coach, arguably the greatest coach of all time.
Does he know that, by the way?
He's on the Mount Rushmore. Are the other guys on the Mount Rushmore? No.
By the way, Pete's defense, this Power Rings article does say Patriots Bill Belichick should be fired as GM.
As GM.
Talk about a clickbait headline.
Well, what's John Dorsey going to do? Not John Dorsey.
Bill Belichick, the general manager, has been the undoing of Bill Belichick, the head coach.
Well, what's going to happen?
Mac Jones, who you loved, he drafted him with the idea that he was going to take the smooth transition from Tommy Brady going to Mac Jones. Well, it's not even close. Mac Jones can't play. Let's be real. He can't play.
You talk about guys seeing ghosts. That dude is seeing a whole bunch of ghosts.
Well, he's had a big enough sample size that you can Ryan, I think you would even admit it.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to get any pushback from me. I mean, I went back and watched that Dallas game. I would have rather, no lie, I would have rather had Breech playing left-handed quarterback for the Patriots in that game. It was so hard to watch.
It was terrible. It was terrible. And last week was terrible, and he got benched. But it's not just that. It's the whole team.
Yeah.
The roster is terrible. It's a bad roster.
Matt Patricia's sitting somewhere like, I told you so. It wasn't my fault.
They can't run the ball.
I'm actually a great offensive coordinator. You just don't know because I was
one thing about Belichick. And Brady's been a little Brady Quinn's been a little critical of them. They play like they're in the 2000s, you know, still. Well, he didn't when he had a real quarterback. They were they were almost like the greatest show on turf when he had the big time quarterback and all the weapons on there. When he had Randy Moss, they couldn't be stopped, remember? So he can play that way. He just can't play that way with the guys he has. He has nothing.
And that's why Mike Tomlin and Mike Vrabel can win with bad quarterbacks. So shout out to those guys. That's what I'm trying to. I love Patrick Mahomes.
They're not winning anything. Are they winning anything this year? Either one of those two teams?
Historically, they've done pretty well with average quarterbacks.
Mike Tomlin had Big Ben.
Average quarterback?
Huh?
Ben Roethlisberger's an average quarterback?
No, the year that Ben got hurt, they won with Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges.
They went like they barely won. They went like 8-8.
They won.
Duck Hodges.
Ben Roethlisberger won Super Bowl, right?
No, I'm talking about no Ben Roethlisberger. Those teams have still either 8-8 or not winning records.
Matt Castle was what, 9? What were they? What was the record the year 11. Matt Castle?
11-5 in 2008.
Okay. There goes your argument out the window.
I think you need to go look at Bill Belichick's record with and without Tom Brady to sort of bolster the idea that he just
pointed out the record without Tom Brady.
But I will say this:
his record's below 500 without Tom Brady.
It definitely shows the quarterback is more valuable than they coach.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, like every year that Belichick hangs on and struggles is like further separating him and Brady in terms of what credit gets given for the dynasty.
Well, here's the other part about the equation.
He got lucky.
He got lucky. He drafted that guy in the 6th round. And they drafted Antoine Harris, a defensive back out of Virginia, before him in the same round.
So angry.
The whole dynasty's based on luck.
It worked.
Okay, Pete's got to go do HQ. So, or Spotlight, right?
Fired up today. You got
good. Yeah, you'll be good on TV then. You can watch Pete on CBS Sports Network in the 3:00 hour. If you're watching live on YouTube, we do CBS Sports HQ Spotlight on CBS Sports Network every day, depending on Champions League and whatnot. But you can check that out on CBS Sports Network, of course, CBSSportsHQ.com. Pete, we're going to take a break. Thanks for joining us. And then we'll do some kind of blind ranking afterwards when we get back, and we'll figure it out. Thanks, Pete. See ya.
Bye, Pete.
We'll do blind rankings.
Freddie, surprise!
Dad.
What's going on with your son?
Wish I knew. Got a girlfriend I've never even heard of. When I told him I wanted to spend more time with him, he said no.
It's just not a good time.
Have you considered that he hates you?
Don't sit there! Those are Christian Lacroix pillows.
So we can't sit on the couch.
Not in jeans.
Okay, Pete was going to do the blind rankings for us. We need somebody else to do it. Someone who hadn't read the rundown. Don't look at the rundown if you haven't yet. You won't be judged for it, Breech. We know you haven't. Have you looked at the rundown?
I glanced at it before the show.
So okay, but you're good to do the blind rankings then. All right, just don't look at the rundown.
Okay.
So we're going to do blind rankings. Whoa, Wilson printed it out.
Old man eyes. Go ahead.
This is a case where we're going to list 5 stadiums. You're going to rank them, but you don't know what order. So like, you're going to be like, you're going to, like I'm going to say, for instance, Bank of America Stadium, which is not one of the choices, the Panther Stadium. And you would have to blindly choose. Do you rank that 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
From best to worst, like one
being the best home field advantage, 5 being the worst.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. I'll start.
Oh, you can read them all. I'll just make faces of it.
Well, no, you now just alternate.
All right, go ahead.
Lambeau Field, home of the Green Bay Packers.
Should we call out numbers like they do at Price is Right? Higher.
Lower.
I'm gonna go 3.
Oh, you just went
3.
I gotta put it. Well, it can't be 5th and it can't be 1st because it's 3rd.
All right.
Okay.
I think I know where this one's going to go. Did Harry make this rundown? Why would this stadium be on here? Mercedes-Benz Stadium, home of the Atlanta Falcons.
I'll put that at 5.
That's where I was thinking.
No, but dude, the whole thing is like you don't know if good stadiums or bad stadiums are coming.
That's true. All right,
that's
fair
all
enough.
beauty. Yeah, like
My
the
bad,
next
Harry.
one. The next
That's
one
smart.
could be Bank of America Stadium, in which case Breech is furious because he'd rather have the Falcons at 4, but
All
it's
right,
not.
That's on
It's
me. Good job.
Lumen Field, home of the Seattle Seahawks.
Higher.
Ooh,
Higher.
Lower.
I think the Seahawks home is probably. I feel comfortable putting it at number 1.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see if there's any competition for that.
Oh boy, is it
all
gonna
right.
be 2 or 1? But I'll go 1. I don't want Seahawks fans getting mad at me.
If you had to guess one stadium that Harry would in fact put on here, which stadium do you think that would be, Breech?
Oh boy, Hard Rock Stadium in
Hard
Miami.
Rock Stadium.
Is
Miami
it on
Dolphins.
there?
Yeah. Where are you putting Miami?
Dolphins fans are gonna hate. I'm gonna say 4th. I'm
All
gonna
right.
put it. 4th.
This is smart. This is smart strategy by Breech here on this one, because the final one, and Breech, this is where Breech actually did look at the rundown and was like, I
I don't
barely
know.
glanced at it.
This one might compete. I mean, the thing with Lumen Field is that they
No,
that
this should be 1. But if Breech had gone if Breech had screwed up and gone Lambeau Field at 2 and said he put Lambeau at 3, which now left him 2 and 4, left him on 2 options on both sides. That was a smart
that's
move.
fair.
Arrowhead Stadium, home of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, yeah. I'll put that at 2, and I feel comfortable. I actually feel comfortable with the rankings.
I think
That's
you would.
pretty good.
I think if you were told here's the list, how do you rank them? You would go Chiefs 1, Seahawks 2, Packers
It'd
3,
be close. I think it depends.
Falcons 4, Dolphins 5, probably. But like I think your strategy, Breech, that's a good lesson on the strategy of blind rankings, because I think a lot of people would have heard Lambeau Field and been like, oh, that has to be 1 or 2. And as soon as you put it at 1 or 2, all of a sudden you really messed up with the Chiefs, who come in at 5.
With blind rankings, I feel pretty strongly about using number 3 first if I can't. Like if you name quarterbacks and you name anyone but Patrick Mahomes, I'll probably just put him at 3 so I have room to work with.
You know
don't
who
want to box
also
yourself in.
You know who also uses that strategy? It just occurred to me. And Brinson mentioned I talked to Javon Curse. We did a blind rankings for edge rushers, and he saved the last one, which was the freak for number 1.
So he knows the
He took the
blind
breach
ranking
spot approach.
strategy. He watches YouTube.
Very
That's
smart,
all you got to
very
do.
smart. I want to rank. I want to do blind rankings of Seinfeld girlfriends. I'm obsessed with the idea of like how many it's crazily famous actresses dated Jerry Seinfeld on that show over the course of the thing. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No, we went through a lot of them in Slack one day. We went through like 5 of them, but I was like, I don't know if we want to blindly rank them because I feel like not everyone is.
Courtney Cox is one.
I love Breech says, I don't know if we're going to rank him, and Brinson goes right into the rankings. The show came out in 1989.
Stifler's mom was one.
Yeah, Courtney Cox.
Walter White's wife was one.
Yeah.
So there's a whole
Terry Hatcher. I mean, the insane list of people. Okay.
Harry knows
Gilmore Girls.
You guys have anything else you want to chat about before we get out of here? We'll call it early.
Let's call it early.
Okay.
Take the W.
Let's call it early. That'll do it for the Power Ranking Show. Thanks to Pete Prisco for joining us. Producer Harry killing it behind the scenes as he does every day. Wilson and Breech. Oh man, we won't see you guys till see you guys on Sunday night. You can tune into
Sunday.
What's that? So Sunday. Yes. You can tune into the Wednesday show with myself. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're someone who likes to watch on YouTube, we'll be going live early, I believe. Harry, you can yell at me if I'm wrong, but I think 11 a.m. because of some Brady travel stuff. Brady Quinn and Leger Duzabal will join me. And then Thursday, of course, our pick show, Katie Mox, myself, RJ White, and Prop Stars on Thursday. And then the Sunday night show with the Super Friends recapping week 6 as we mosey on along this NFL schedule. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review on the audio platforms. For Wilson, for Breech, I'm Brinson. We will see you guys later.